Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Game of Thrones Winter's Coming. Today we are taking a look at Soren, and he's of course the next commander in our commander check series that we have on the channel currently. And I'm apologizing for being a bit tired or sounding a bit tired. It's basically midnight right now for me making it, and I'm just getting it out a bit earlier today because of a change in the date when I have to the deadline. So bear in mind with me in this video. But either way, there are several things you can look at Soren. You can basically see that he's very heavily attack focused. Doesn't have that much defense. Doesn't have any health really. Rather low, and his specialization is basically research, fortification, code production, and so on. And he has some guard skills that we also take a look at and so on. And we'll go in much deeper detail regarding that right now. So be right back. We are of course continuing to follow our standard format for checking through the commanders, and in this case we are of course still going to go into the training grounds, the rival leaders, and PvP fights aspects of Soren. And here you have a short overview of the guard skills, what he gives to him as a commander on the field when he's deployed in training grounds, for example. And of course you can see his awakening skill, which basically is focusing on obtaining resources from gathering, and then of course his basic stats, which we already talked about earlier in this video. But yeah, training grounds, you will want to put him in the back row always, mainly because of the fact that he's so he's like a glass cannon basically. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. He does a lot of damage, has good side benefits and so on, but he's really frail, so he gets easily taken down if he's in the front line, so you have to place him in the back row if you want to have any usage of him in PvP. Of course there are some strong points to look at. He's a very good offensive commander. He has high base attack, which means that he deals high damage per second, which is always great in the commander in training grounds. He has a high straight line active skill, and the good thing about this skill is that it also affects the people in the back row. So if there are some squishy targets that you can kind of target down the back row, then one of the uses this skill has is basically to kind of soften them up before you have like a targeting skill that can hit the back row target, for example. He gets increased evasion every 8th attack. Can be useful in tight situations. Not entirely sure how the evasion system works in this game, if they dodge attacks or not, or it just lowers the damage from the attack. I'm not quite sure, but either way it's something he has in his passive, and how it procs and so on I'm not entirely sure. But it's there. It might be one or the other, so keep that in mind as well. And then of course he has a passive that allows normal attacks to have a chance to reduce heal effects on 2 targets, which is really useful in terms of PvP, because a lot of people are basically using heal comps or defensive heal comps, so that kind of cuts down the healing effect they do. Of course, and we are also looking at the rebel leaders, and in rebel leaders you have to place him at the back row as well. Not because that he can't tank it or anything, or be in the front row, almost front row spots or so, but it's more because it's easier for archers to do damage from the back row faster, rather than having some melee commander having to run all the way up to target the rebel leader. So usually you will see people basically either send them into the back row and then send some kind of counters before them instead. His strong points in terms of rebel leaders is that he's a very offensive commander, which means he has high DPS. He has a passive flat attack buff, which allows him to have a higher damage per second. I believe he gets a buff of 1000 attack extra, so basically puts him above 9000 base attack, which is really huge. And he has a high base critical hit chance from equipment used to upgrade his rank. A lot of the equipment he gets to upgrade his rank, basically, the rank you can see, like, is this timber up in the corner. gives critical hit, and that basically means that he has chance to crit, which means that it has increased DPS. And of course, crit rate, we already talked about in the last video, is kind of uncertain when it hits, when it doesn't hit, or how it procs. But at sometimes you will have higher damage, and other times you have lower damage. But that kind of is what he's about. In terms of PvP fights, you can see his passive buffs here. Nothing really combat heavy or anything like that. Strong points, of course, is that he is bow commander. He'll focus on gold production with research buff and fortification buff. Gold production and research buffs can be really useful early on to kind of get your game going, to get your stats and researchers going, get your production going. Fortification buffs, not so important. Basically just focus around construction increase. Not really that awesome. Fortifications are basically useless in this game currently, so don't worry about that. If you want some more gold or research speed, that's the way to go. Gold also would probably want him gold for the gold production increase. Everything skill that increases the amount of resources harvested. From what I've noticed, if you actually want to get the benefit out of it, you have to actually deploy him to that specific node where you want it from. So how useful it is, I don't know. It can be like a niche thing for harvest accounts, I guess, but other than that, it's kind of like meh. And awakening buffs on stone production as well as stone gathering speed and fortification. The gathering speed, I suppose, can be nice in terms of certain events, but that's pretty much it. There's no legit buffs in terms of army buffs or battle buffs or anything like that, so keep that in mind when using him. But now we're going to take a look at him in terms of the timer stats before ending the video. So, per usual, at the end of our video, we are taking a look at the Tamron stats, and you can see that in his case that he has 3 aptitude, 2 command, and once he gets upgraded to 2 stars awakening, he will get 1 star each on command and aptitude, which is not the best. I mean, we have already been through it. Most people care about leadership and what's the other one? CR, which is basically just for the stats in terms of combat and army size increases and so on. So he's not that highly valuable in terms of utility and so on. He can be used, but in terms of actual PvP usage, he's probably not one of the first ones to go for. But he's decent for free-to-play players in terms of real leaders and killing them, so keep that in mind. But yeah, that kind of covers what I wanted to say about him in this video. If you're new to the channel and want to play the game, the link is down in the description below. If there's something you want me to talk about or look into or discuss with me, then feel free to do it down in the comments. And of course, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new here. And yeah, there's also a link to the Discord group for Game of Thrones when it's coming in the description down below. And there's also a link for the music that I'm using in this video. But I wish you all a great weekend, and I hope you all have a great time in general, and we're going to talk or meet each other fairly soon again. So, bye bye.